We use language every single day, right? But have you ever really stopped and thought about what it is? I mean, what makes our ability to talk about, what we had for dinner last week or the fate of the universe so completely different from a dog's bark or a bird's song? Let's get into it.
We've all seen movies where people talk to animals, but is that just a fantasy? Or is it possible that other creatures have their own form of language and we just haven't figured out how to listen? Honestly, this question gets right to the heart of what makes us, well, us. So, to figure this all out, we need to know what we're actually looking for. First things first, we've got to define our terms. We need to pinpoint what makes human language such a powerhouse. Okay, so here's the core idea. Language isn't just a big list of words. Think of it more like a creative engine. We've only got a limited set of sounds and words, but thanks to the rules of the game, what we call syntax or grammar, we can combine them in an absolutely endless number of ways to create messages that have literally never been said before. And our language has some seriously cool design features. Get this, displacement lets us talk about stuff that isn't right here, right now. Yesterday, tomorrow, you name it. Openness is that creative power, the ability to say something new. Duality of patterning is just genius. We take meaningless sounds like ka, a, and ta, stick them together, and boom, you get cat. And then you've got the secret weapon, recursion. This is the ability to tuck one idea inside of another and another and another infinitely. All right, so with that checklist in hand, scientists set off on this incredible quest. Could we teach our closest relatives, the great apes, to use a system that had all these features? And for a while, the results were, wow. This is Washoe. She was a chimpanzee who learned American Sign Language. One day, she saw a swan for the very first time. Now, she didn't have a sign for swan, so she did something amazing. She spontaneously combined two signs she did know and signed waterbird. I mean, that looks an awful lot like openness, doesn't it? And the progress was just remarkable. Washoe ended up learning over 150 signs. But then came Kanzi, a bonobo, who took it to another level. He learned just by watching people, and he could understand complex spoken sentences. He knew the difference between put the ball on your hat and put the hat on your ball. And the key thing here, his communication was mostly spontaneous. This wasn't just him mimicking his trainers. So, it really seemed like we'd cracked the code. Apes can learn words, they can be creative, but then researchers started to look a little closer. They started asking a much tougher question. Are the apes just stringing words together like beads on a necklace? Or do they actually understand the rules, the grammar that hold it all together? And when you put what the apes were doing side by side with how a human child learns to talk, well, the differences are just glaring. Ape communication pretty much stays locked in the here and now, I want a banana. A kid's language just explodes into talking about yesterday and tomorrow. But maybe the biggest giveaway is this. Kids are question machines. They're constantly asking why to figure out the world. The apes? Almost never. So, scientists came up with a new term for what the apes were doing. Protolanguage. It's definitely a step up from a bark or a meow. It has words and simple phrases, like me, Tarzan, you, Jane, but it's missing that powerful rule-based engine, that syntax that lets us create real complexity. And that brings us right back to that secret ingredient we talked about before, recursion. This seems to be the one uniquely human piece of the puzzle that no other animal has ever demonstrated. It's that ability to build sentences inside of other sentences that gives our language its truly limitless power. So if it's not just about being smart, what is it? What gives us this ability? Well, the search for answers led scientists to look under the hood, at the hardware itself, the human brain. Back in the 1860s, a neurologist named Paul Broca made a huge discovery. He found that if a specific spot in the left frontal part of the brain was damaged, a person could lose their ability to speak fluently even though they could still understand everything. That spot became known as Broca's area, basically our brain's speech producer. And it wasn't long before another piece of the puzzle fell into place. A scientist named Carl Wernicke found another key area. When this part, in the left temporal lobe, was damaged, you got the opposite problem. Patients could talk up a storm, but the words were all jumbled, just nonsense. They'd lost their ability to understand meaning. And that's Wernicke's area, the brain's meaning processor. Okay, so we've got the specialized hardware, but here's the catch. It turns out the software, the language itself, has to be installed at just the right time.
there seems to be this crucial but temporary window of opportunity for our brains to learn it. This idea is called the critical period hypothesis. It basically says that from the time we're born until about puberty, our brains are like these super absorbent sponges, just primed to soak up language. But if a child doesn't get that language input during this sensitive time, that window might just close for good. And the tragic and heartbreaking case of a girl named Jeannie is just devastating proof of this. She was discovered at age 13 after a childhood of unimaginable isolation, with almost no human contact. After she was rescued, she was able to learn an incredible number of words. But grammar, the rules for putting those words together into complex sentences, she never got it. The window had closed. So we have this unique ability hardwired into our brains that has to be activated in childhood. And that leads us to our final and maybe most mind-bending question. Once we have language, does it actually change the way we think and see the world? This is the big idea behind something called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis. It suggests that language isn't just a passive tool for expressing thoughts we already have. Instead, the very structure of our language, its vocabulary, its grammar, actively shapes and even limits how we experience reality itself. Let me show you what I mean. Take a look at this classic puzzle. You've got a candle, a book of matches, and a box full of tacks. Your job is to attach the candle to the wall so that it can burn without dripping wax on the floor. Go ahead and pause for a second and think about how you do it. The elegant solution is to empty the tacks out of the box, use a tack to pin the box to the wall, and then place the candle on it like a little shelf. So why is this so hard for so many of us to figure out? It all comes down to language. The labeled box of tacks tricks our brains into seeing the box's function as only a container. It's a phenomenon called functional fixedness. The word itself literally puts blinders on our creativity. And this effect isn't just about puzzles. It shapes how we do math. Just look at the way we count. In English, our teen numbers are weirdly irregular. But in Chinese, it's a simple logical system, 10-1, 10-2, 10-3. The result? Chinese-speaking kids learn to count faster. Or take the Paraha tribe in the Amazon. Their language only has words for 1, 2, and many. And because of that, they struggle with any math task involving numbers bigger than 3. The words you have can literally define your mathematical world. It even changes what you see. In English, we have a very clear line between blue and green. But for the Berinmo people in New Guinea, that line is drawn in a totally different place, between their color words null and war. And what's incredible is that each group is better at telling apart and remembering shades of color that fall on opposite sides of their own linguistic boundary. The categories our language gives us literally sharpen our perception. Which leaves us with this fascinating and maybe a little unsettling final thought. If our language isn't just a mirror reflecting the world, but a tool that helps build our reality, then what ideas, what concepts, what entire ways of thinking are we missing out on simply because we don't have the words for them? Thanks for watching.